My testimony isn't necessarily about me, but it's involving my family, so I'm just going to share it. I felt like I should. It's cool what God does in your life, you know, when you start hanging out with Him a lot, how He changes how you respond to situations. You know, I used to be like a crazy spaz, you know? Like, I'd freak out at the drop of a hat. Like, if I lost something, like, you took it. You know, I'd be like, it was your fault. Where did and I'd find it, like, and I'd be like, oh, yeah, I forgot it. I left it right there. So, like, I used to spaz out, freak out, and like, whatever. And I remember I was down in Alabama. I used to live there, and I was engaged with my wife at that point. And I got a phone call. And they said, well, Jake, listen, your grandpa is in the hospital. And I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, he's going to have like, what's the word for five? Like a quad? No, it's like a five things, a heart bypass surgery, right? He's like, he's going to have his surgery. He's got like almost 100% blockage. If he gets out of here, he could die at any moment. It's like crazy. So me and Heather, we take off up to St. Louis. We hang out with him, and he goes through surgery. It's awesome. It's all successful, great, awesome. We pray God brought him through that thing. It was awesome, and he was recovering from that. 3 months later, he gets a diagnosis. His stomach starts swelling. They don't know why. He goes back. Turns out he's got cancer. Okay, like, he just had a heart bypass surgery. My grandpa's got cancer. It's like, my goodness, you know, how worse can this get? And so it turns out that his cancer was all over his body. It wasn't just in his body, but it was like in his brain and in some sensitive areas in his body that like chemo won't get to. So he's like, okay, well, I guess we got to do this chemo thing. And what's crazy about this situation is that when I found out about all these things, it wasn't like spaz out mode for me. You know? It's like I didn't freak out. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, my grandpa's gonna die. You know, because that cancer word is a big word nowadays. You know, it's like the death sentence, right? People are like, oh my God, you got cancer. But to me, I was like, cancer is just a word that Jesus overcame. You know? And it was cool because throughout this process, I have a lot of friends. We have a lot of friends that travel and do ministry and all this stuff. And I called them up. I said, look, my grandpa's dealing with this, and I need you to pray. And we started praying and declaring that God was going to heal him. And he went through his first round of chemo, his first chemo treatment, and it was rough on him. It was really bad on him. And he got weighed in at the hospital that day when he left. And when he went home, he was praying, and he tells the story like this. He said, I was sitting on my chair, and all of a sudden I felt like the presence of Jesus walked into my living room. I was by myself. He said, and all of a sudden I started sweating. It was the weirdest thing, he said. I got really hot, and I started sweating, and my socks were like soaked. It was weird. And he's like, and then like some other kind of personal things I won't share happened. But he went back to the hospital 3 days later, right? They weighed him in and went through, and they're like, this is weird. You've lost 17 pounds. So it's in 3 days, 17 pounds in 3 days. They're like, wow, crazy. And they go in, they test and treat, and they go to see where, how the cancer's doing. They do their scans, whatever they do. And they're like, Mr. Mathenia, you're not going to believe this, but we can't find any cancer in your body, right? How awesome is that? Right? And so I'm wondering, man, when things come against me like that, or my family, man, I don't freak out. I don't freak out because I've seen the results of Jesus. I've seen the results of His power and His promises. Right. My grandpa was healed 100% of cancer. The doctor suggested that he should continue and finish the chemo treatment, and he did. It was whatever. Doctors would have been liable, whatever, but he did. But that day, he was 100% cancer-free. And chemo, the thing about chemo treatments is it doesn't get into like the brain area. It doesn't get into the sensitive areas of the body. Well, even all of those areas had no cancer. So my grandpa, because of prayer and the power of Jesus, was completely healed. Right.